Hi YouTubers, it's me video, so something important right now, something kind of damn important, which is basically a ramble right now, this might come off as a little bit controversial, so if you're not into watching controversial topics, please click off right now, that kind of crap. So basically it has to do with doctors, nice big ass doctors like the big ass cigar. As most people know, I have a lot of medical disabilities myself. I have, I'm obese myself. I also have both, mental health, and also I also have physical problems. I see lots of doctors, that kind of crap, that kind of shit, I see many different types of doctors, not just a primary care doctor, but I also see like a GI doctor, a endocrinologist because I have a thyroid issue. I also see a psychiatrist, lots of different types of doctors. I see a therapist, lots of different types of doctors. Now I want to give my personal opinion, and this might come off as kind of biased, about why I am biased when it comes to doctors. A lot of people, there's a hell of a lot of people who absolutely fucking hate doctors, for a better word. They absolutely hate the medical industry. Just like there's a lot of people who hate lawyers, they fucking hate lawyers, there's a lot of people who fucking hate doctors. It's unfreaking believable. Actually, cross it out, make that unfucking believable. There's so many people who hate doctors. And the reason being, and this, I'm not saying this is the only reason, this is a huge reason why, this is one of the biggest reasons, is money. One reason people hate the pharmaceutical industry or the doctors in general is because, or nurses, whatever, medical professionals, is because they say they steal your money. That may or may not be true, but that's a huge reason why so many people, have stuff against doctors. They say, oh, they're only in it for the money. They're only in it to take your co-pays, to take money for pills, prescription pills or medications. They're just there to put, more prescriptions on you and just to take money from you, shit from you, all that kind of shit, as in bullshit is bullshit. So, and part of the reason why I've never had anything really against doctors, with a few exceptions here and there, I mean, there's been plenty of doctors who I haven't liked. There's been plenty of doctors who I have disliked and thought totally sucked, and we're like, wow, that doctor was totally terrible, like totally unprofessional. And believe me, not every doctor I've seen was totally professional. But a big reason, this is the whole purpose of this discussion, a big reason why I've never had a grudge against doctors or a hate against doctors or a hate against people who produce, medications, is because I pay basically nothing for them. And you might be saying to yourself, well, how the hell are you doing that? Like, how the fuck are you doing that? I mean, don't medications cost money? Don't tests cost money? Doesn't it cost you money when you see a doctor? Well, I'm just very blessed and very lucky, for a better word, fucking lucky. I have wonderful, wonderful, wonderful health insurance. So I'm on Mass Health myself. I'm on health insurance, and I have wonderful health insurance. So, and unfortunately, there's a lot of people, and I'm not trying to beat people up, there's a lot of people who have, for a better word, garbage for health insurance. And I'm not saying that's the only reason people beat up on doctors or beat up on the pharmaceutical industry, but that's a big reason why people diss doctors. Is because every time they're put on a new medication, that means, $20 out of their pocket. Every time they see their doctor for an ear infection, or see their doctor because their stomach is upset, or see their doctor because they're on their whatever, that means that's a $50 copay. That's a $50 copay. That's a big reason why people dox doctors and hate doctors, is because they're paying money. It's like, and most people, unless they absolutely have to, do not want to spend money, especially people who are lower income. So I'm just one of the very few lucky people who lives in low income housing, who pays basically nothing to see my doctor. So I don't have a copay when I see my primary care doctor. I don't have a copay for my medication, my pills. I don't have a copay for when I see my doctor for a liver scan or a GI test. One of the reasons people think doctors are total bitches or total bastards is because when they go in and they say, well, your cholesterol is getting too high, your blood pressure is getting too high, we're probably going to have to put you on medication. They're like, OMFG, that means another $20 out of my pocket each month to pay for that medication. That's why a lot of people, a hell of a lot of people, are like, frick you, whatever. It's like, you get the point. It's like, because it's money. It's like, if they weren't paying money, if they weren't paying money for that medication, they might still not want to take it because there are potential side effects. I mean, medication can have side effects in of itself, but a huge reason, and I think people can agree, and I mean, if you don't agree with this, I think you're kind of hiding things personally. If you don't agree that part of the reason you're pissed at your doctor for prescribing you a medication or ordering a test or seeing you back in 6 months is because of the copay or cost of medication, I think that's total bullshit. So, I mean, bullshit can be bullshit, but I mean, if you don't agree that, I mean, assuming you're paying money, I mean, if you're like me and you're one of the very lucky people who has wonderful, wonderful, wonderful health insurance, you're so blessed, you pay nothing for copays, you pay no deductibles, you have a wonderful paying job, wonderful, beautiful house, all that shit, isn't bullshit, you're wonderful, lucky, then you're probably gonna agree with me and say, yeah, I don't mind going to the doctor every 3 months. I don't mind, going in to have my blood pressure checked because it costs me nothing. But if you're one of the many, 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 many people who has garbage for health insurance, who has crappy health insurance, who has a huge deductible when they go to see the doctor, I'll give you a perfect example. I was at the dentist probably about a little over a year ago, and actually just under a year ago, and I went to the dentist, and thankfully no cavities, no signs of any kind of suspicious lesions. Yes, I'm a smoker myself, and so they did the routine check, and I walked in and out of the dentist's office. I paid nothing for that dentist visit. So paid absolutely nothing. And the person who was checking in right after me, I was waiting for my mother to be done. And the person who was checking in to the dentist after me to be seen to the dentist, they were going to pay, I think it was $165 out of pocket to see the dentist. I'm like, holy shit. It's like, I'm not going to, dox that person, but I mean, if you have to pay $165 just to have a cleaning done, just to, I'm not sure if this person was having a cleaning done. I mean, for all I know, it could have been like a root canal. I'm not sure, so don't judge me on that. But I mean, it's like, if you have to pay over $160 just to have a cleaning done, just to have your teeth cleaned, I mean, unless you're very well off, you have a lot of money, a hell of a lot of moolah, nice big ass moolah like the big ass cigar, that's crazy. I mean, for a person who's married, who has 3 little kids, I mean, that's freaking, for better or worse, that's fucking crazy. It's like, and that's why a lot of people, fucking hate the dentist. They're like, fuck the dentist, because it's like they're paying $160 every time they go. I mean, what is that? 2 times a year, that's over $300. I mean, that's part of the reason a lot of people hate doctors and a lot of people hate lawyers is the money. It's like, you made a mistake to drive drunk, and now you're paying $5,000 to hire an attorney. You're probably going to hate the attorney. You're probably going to think the attorney's a dick, even though the attorney might keep you out of jail because you're dropping $3,000 that you could have spent on, buying a new frickin' boat, for your, fishing trips, and you're spending on hiring an attorney. So it's not the attorney's fault. It's not the doctor's fault. You chose to, eat, 10 cheeseburgers every night and get fat, fat ass like the big ass cigar, and you're 320 pounds and you have high blood pressure like I do, and yeah, I'm biased on this because I am fat, I am overweight, I'm obese, and part, I'm on medication, but unfortunately a lot of people who are overweight, a lot of people who are smokers are not very well off financially. They are the working class poor. It's not their fault necessarily, it's just the way things works. It's just, economics, economically, if you look at the statistics, a hell of a lot of people who are smokers, a hell of a lot of people who are who are obese or overweight don't have very good paying jobs. They're not lawyers, they're not doctors, they're not teachers, or not teachers necessarily, but they're not accountants, they're not bankers, they're not journalists, they don't work for, Channel 4, Channel 2 news. They're probably, a lot of them. I'm not saying everybody, I'm not saying everybody. There's some people who are obese, or people who are smokers, people who are, people who are, who have not good lifestyles. That's what I'm trying to say is, people who don't have great lifestyles, people who are unhealthy, who do have, very good lifestyles and very good paying jobs. But if you look at the statistics, if you look at the governmental statistics when it comes to people who are current cigarette smokers, not pipe and cigar smokers, current cigarette smokers who are currently smoking a pack and a half a day or 2 packs a day. Most of them are living in low-income neighborhoods. You look at people who are shoving in, 5 pounds of Taco Bell every single day, they're probably not living in Beverly Hills, California. So, and that's why a lot of people are pissy and a lot of people are pissed off when they see the doctor, because what does it mean when they get put on a new blood pressure medication or a new cholesterol medication? It means taking money out of the pocket to pay it. It's like, I'm totally biased because I have wonderful health insurance. And I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to say that I'm better than somebody else. I'm not trying to say that I'm better. I'm not trying to say that, it's better to be well off. I have tons of friends. Some of my best friends are lower income. And I live in lower income housing myself. Oh, sorry, I just farted. Big ass farts for life. Yeah, so, but what I'm saying is, that's part of the reason why people dox doctors a lot. People dox, the medical industry or the legal industry a lot is because of money. They say it's the root of all evil. They say it's the root of all fucking evil. Money is the root of all fucking evil. And it is. Believe me, if money didn't exist, this world would be a lot happier place. It would be a hell of a lot of a happier place if there wasn't money involved. People have gotten killed over money. People have gotten murdered, it's like, over money. It's like, yeah, of course it would be a better place. But that's just not reality. Of course in this world, and sometimes, if you have a raging ear infection, you have a raging sore throat, you have to see a doctor. You have to get put on medication. 100 years ago, if you had, pneumonia and you weren't put on medication, you'd die. It's like, would you rather spend, $10 on or $20 on medication, or would you rather die from pneumonia? Of course you have to see a doctor. It's like, I'm not saying, totally kiss the doctor's ass, totally butt kiss the doctor's asshole, and, see the doctor for if your toe is a little sore. No, it's like, of course not. But it's like, that's why a lot of people are kind of pissy at the doctors, is because it's costing them money, and that's why people like me, and people like my father, people like my mother, people like my brother, are not mad at doctors in general, because they're not paying. Because the reason we're biased is because we're not paying anything when we see the doctor. We're not paying anything when we fill that prescription at the pharmacy. And I'm not defending the opioid epidemic by any means. The opioid epidemic is an evil epidemic. Pharmaceutical companies absolutely 110% knew those medications were addictive. Medications like Oxycontin, Oxycodone, and Percocet, and Percodone, and Vicodin, and codeine were addictive. Of course they knew they were addictive. And there's so many people now who are addicted to smack, who are addicted to heroin, who are suffering, who are overdosing. No defense. For what the pharmaceutical companies did for like painkillers like Oxycontin or like Percocet or painkillers in general, that was terrible. I'm not defending that. I'm not talking about painkillers. So don't think when I say I'm defending doctors or I'm defending the pharmaceutical industry, don't think I'm defending the opioid epidemic. So don't think I'm talking about that. What I'm talking about after 14 minutes of rambling is somebody who is pissed they got an ear infection by chance, and now they have to see their doctor, and they're going to have to pay $10 out of pocket for a prescription. If you can't afford to pay $10 out of pocket for a weekly supply of amoxicillin or penicillin for a simple ear infection, I'm sorry, you're playing with fire. I've known people who are unfortunately, by no fault of their own, so destitute that they can't even afford to call an ambulance to take them to the hospital. I'm sorry, if you can't afford to call an ambulance to your house, take you to the hospital, if you are on the verge of a heart attack or a verge of a stroke, then I'm sorry, but you're playing with fire. I mean, it's like people who don't even have health insurance, and I mean, in my personal opinion, like my asshole, everyone should have health insurance. This country should do socialized health care for everybody. That's my personal opinion. Just like most other countries like Denmark or Norway or Sweden or Netherlands or most of Europe, Western Europe, it's like, yeah, it's like, if you're okay with not having health insurance and you're okay with taking that gamble, rolling the dice, and chancing that you're not going to, something bad's not going to happen to you, then that's really a poor choice. I mean, you have to have some degree of protection. Just like when you have sex, you have to have some degree of protection. So anyway, that's my rant. That's why that's why I'm biased when it comes to doctors. When people say, don't you hate going to the doctor? Don't you hate, seeing your doctor, nice big ass doctor like the big ass cigar, because, you must be paying money out of pocket. Well, guess what? I'm very lucky, very blessed, fingers crossed, knock on wood, that I have wonderful health insurance, and I'm not paying anything when I see my doctor. But there's a lot of people who are suffering who unfortunately don't have that luxury. So I'm lucky to have that luxury, and I'm lucky to be very blessed. I'm lucky to be able to pay my bills every month. I'm lucky to keep a roof over my head. But there's a lot of people who aren't, and I really do feel bad for those people. But it's really, don't take your frustration out of the doctor and say all doctors are evil. All doctors are just after your money. If it's really, when it comes down to it, it's like, part of it is the doctor, but part of it is the fact that, you don't have the financial assets. So anyway, that's my rant. If you were offended, I'm sorry. If you're somebody who was offended, or if this bothered you, I'm sorry, but I did give a warning beforehand. So anyway, Big Ass of Life, pretty fucking cool. And these topics won't become a regular thing. So if you're wondering, these topics won't become a regular thing, so don't think I'm going to, switch to politics. So I just want to do a very rare, very fucking rare politics discussion on doctors. So this will not become a regular thing. This is just a rare exception. So anyway, pretty fucking cool. Bye.